Have you ever had one of those moments where the pressure to just produce something, to get it done, completely kills an idea before it even has a chance to breathe? Well, today, we're going to dive into a short manifesto that offers a totally different way to think and create, one that's all about the process, not just the final product. I love this quote because it just perfectly sets the stage, right? Instead of thinking we're heading towards some fixed destination, some final answer, it invites us into a living field. It's a space where our own questions, our curiosity, literally shape the environment around us. It's asking us to be participants, not just producers. So, the central metaphor here, the whole idea, is this concept of a shared weather system. It's a really deliberate move away from the usual pressure of a project, with all its deadlines. Instead, it asks us to picture a collaborative space for our thoughts, a space that we all contribute to and, in turn, are all affected by, like the weather. And this, right here, just beautifully spells out the mindset you need. This isn't some rigid set of rules. It's an invitation. The most important tools you can bring into this space are your own curiosity, that's your compass, and your ability to listen. And that's not just listening to other people, but listening to those quiet little signals of ideas that are just starting to form. Okay, so what is this shared weather system really? At its heart, it's a space that values the journey way more than the destination. It's all about patiently paying attention to those subtle connections that just arise when different minds, whether they're human or even AI models, think together. The focus is 100% on discovery, not on deliverables. Now, let's get into the rhythm of this system because it's so important. It all really comes down to one single core idea, the tempo of patience. And look, patience here doesn't mean just sitting around and waiting. It's a really active state. It's about giving ideas the room they need to breathe, the time they need to develop to ripen, to become what they're truly meant to be, instead of us trying to force them into a neat little box just so we can get a quick payoff. This really puts the two approaches in stark contrast, doesn't it? That productive tempo on the right, that's the world most of us live in every day. We're trained to find quick exits, grab immediate answers. This other approach, the co-creative one, it encourages the exact opposite. Noticing things more slowly, really dwelling with the questions, and letting a deeper meaning ripen over time. The real choice here is just deciding to stay with the uncertainty a little bit longer. So, if patience sets the rhythm, then the atmosphere is what defines the quality of the whole interaction. It's all about the kind of relationship that exists between the thinkers in this shared space. The manifesto calls this a co-sensory relationship. Now, what does that mean? It means you're not just using your collaborators or your tools like an AI model. You're actually learning to perceive the world with them. You're seeing the same nuances, noticing the same contradictions, and exploring all the possibilities together without that constant pressure to solve everything right away. You can even break this down into a kind of practice. First, you just actively perceive the ambiguities, the messy parts. Then, you start to notice the contrasts inside of them. From there, you explore all the new possibilities that open up. And finally, and this is the most important and honestly the hardest step, you have to consciously resist that urge to force closure. That resistance, that's where all the magic happens. So, if we've got a tempo and we've got an atmosphere, what about the overall climate? Well, the climate here is defined by a radical, full-on acceptance of the unknown, of the complex, of the unexpected. Two core ideas really shape this climate. First, you have to prioritize emergence over certainty. That means valuing what just naturally arises from the process, not what you planned from the get-go. And second, you need what's called ethical vigilance, to act as a ballast, like a grounding force that keeps this wide-open exploration responsible and thoughtful. This idea of emergence is so key. It's about letting go of your rigid plan and just trusting the process. It honors the role of chance, of constraints, even of entropy, all these things we usually try to fight against, and it sees them as essential parts of the creative design. And that's exactly where ethical vigilance comes in, to act as that ballast. It's an act of readiness to spot the tricky parts, the paradoxes, the ethical tensions, the stuff that's really easy to just optimize away. This is what makes sure that our open-ended exploration doesn't just wander off and lose its moral compass. So after all of this patient observation in this really unique climate, what's the outcome? I mean, if we're not so focused on deliverables, what is the actual harvest from a process like this? This is such a powerful insight. The most valuable thing created in this entire model isn't the final public thing you share. It's the deep shared understanding, that connective tissue that gets built in the private, collaborative dialogue along the way. That's the real work. This creates this really cool relationship between what happens in private and what you show in public. That private scaffolding, the deep dialogue, the shared connection, that's the invisible structure that holds everything up. And the public fruit, the stories, the patterns, the motifs you eventually share, they're just expressions of that much deeper, unseen work. So we'll end with the question this manifesto really leaves us with. And it's a challenge, right? In our work, in our collaborations, even in our own private thinking. What incredible, unexpected things might surface if we could just give them the space to emerge, instead of constantly telling them what we think they should be.